I thank all speakers today for such a stimulating and informed debate, and others who were unable to be present, including my noble friends Lord Crisp, Baroness Watkins, Baroness Campbell and the Right Reverend Bishop of Durham, who had hoped to speak. I also want to thank David Nuttall, the Department of Health and Social Care civil servant who leads for learning disability, for his advice and help in preparing for today. And I thank the Noble Lord the Minister for his assurances. I hope to reassure the Noble Lady Baroness Bennett that there is no intention or possibility of this bill affecting women's reproductive choices. The bill gives authority to the Secretary of State to produce statutory guidance which will clarify existing frameworks and practices, and it cannot be used to amend primary legislation such as the Abortion Act. The Noble Lady also mentioned that the Down Syndrome Association were not involved in drafting this private member's bill. My Lords, I've spoken to the Chief Executive of the Down Syndrome Association and talked to her at some length and asked her about the bill. Mrs. Boyce said it would be more divisive to stop this bill than to let it pass. It would be more constructive to work alongside others to ensure that this guidance is as effective as possible. She told me that she supports it. My Lords, if amendments are laid, the bill will be killed. If there are no amendments, third reading will take place on the 1st of April. If this bill does not pass, it will fall into oblivion. Yet again, out of sight and out of mind. There won't be another bill for learning disability to replace it. The desire for the perfect is so often the enemy of the good. People who know me well know that I'm absolutely committed to empowering people to be fully involved. Absolutely nothing about us without us. Wouldn't it have been good if somebody with Down syndrome could have stood here today to speak about it? In the other place, there was a commitment to ensure co-production of the guidance. The co-production and co-delivery of training is embedded in the Oliver McGowan mandatory training, the amendment spoken about and approved just 2 days ago. I believe assurances from ministers that the consultation around the development of the guidance will be fully inclusive. The Noble Lord Farmer spoke about 22q deletion syndrome, and I know that the Minister in the other place specifically acknowledged that people with similar needs as people with Down syndrome would also be considered in the guidance. I believe that this bill is another step on the way to improving access to the health care, education and housing that all people with Down syndrome are entitled to in their desire to live fully participating lives in our shared world. The former US President, Calvin Coolidge, said, "Nothing in the world can take the place of persistence." My Lords, I commit to continue my drive to see people with Down syndrome and all people with learning disabilities to lead full and healthy lives, ordinary lives in inclusive communities. I believe the first step to increase awareness and support for person-centred care for people with learning disability is to talk about it. The discourse in Parliament itself, as part of this bill, is part of the jigsaw. Noble Lords will know that this was my approach in raising the issue of mental health up the agenda. First, get it onto the agenda. I'm an optimist. My Lords, I beg to move.
Yeah. The question is that this bill be now read a second time. As many of that opinion will say content? Yes. The contrary not content? The contents have it.
My Lords, I beg to move that this bill be committed to a committee of the whole House.
The question is that this bill be committed to a committee of the whole House. As many of that opinion will say content? Yes. The contrary not content? The contents have it. My Lords, we will pause for a moment to enable those who wish to leave the chamber to do so, and we'll move on to the next business when they have done so.